A black man and his 14-year-old son are in a private car when they are pulled over by the police. Two officers approach the car. They ask the man where he is from and where he is going. The man answers. The officer then asks for his car insurance. The man tells the officer he is reaching for the document in the car's compartment. The officer allows him to do so. He retrieves the document and hands it over to the officer. The officer says that it has expired. The man responds that he must have given him the wrong one and asks to reach into the compartment again to check for the updated document. The officer tells the man to step out of the car. The man complies. The other officer, who is standing by the passenger seat, begins shouting at the 14-year-old boy to put his hands up. The boy is simply reaching for his phone, which he uses to record the officer. The officer shouts at him to drop the phone. The father shouts at his son to drop the phone, simultaneously telling the police officer that the boy is unarmed. The boy steps out to face the still screaming officer. A year later, a young man knocks on a door. An older man opens the door. It's the same man who had been pulled over by the cops when shots were fired. The young man introduces himself as Jordan King. He tells the older man that they had talked a few times on the phone and that he is a student filmmaker. He reminds the man that they discussed doing interviews about what happened to his son. Link invites him in. Link asks Jordan who would see his film. Jordan responds that his class would see it, as well as some professors, and that it might even be shown at some festivals. He adds that if some people like it, it could be seen by the world. Link asks if people all over the world would see the video. Jordan responds that it is possible. Jordan tells him that he is going to ask him some questions and that if there are any questions he doesn't want to answer, he doesn't have to. He asks Link to give his full name. Link responds that his name is Lincoln Jefferson, but he is popularly known as Link. Jordan starts by saying that most people now know what happened to KJ, Link's son. He asks Link to describe his son in one word or sentence. Link says he would simply show him. He brings out his phone and plays a funny video that KJ had filmed at one of their family celebrations. The video is funny, as Link falls heavily to the ground while trying to do some dance moves. Link says KJ was smart, just an all-around good kid. Jordan asks Link to tell him what happened on July 3rd of the previous year. Jordan and Link are in a sitting room. An old woman has joined them. Jordan tells the woman that Link said she helped raise KJ when he was a baby. She says that yes, she did, and that she actually helped raise all her grandkids. She mentions during the interview that Link had served in the army, specifically in Iraq. She points out that after Link had served in the army and served the country, it was wrong the way they were treating him. That they had taken KJ away from him for nothing. She says if it had happened in her neighborhood, it would be understandable, that it would have made more sense. Jordan asks her how. She responds that these young boys get beat down or worse by the cops all the time. Jordan asks if it's more instances of police brutality in poor communities. The woman points out that it is more instances of police brutality in black communities. Jordan stares at Link after her response. Link is playing a video from when he had been recording KJ on his first day back from school. He tells him in the video that he is recording him to capture these priceless moments. He asks him how school was. KJ says it was cool, that everybody was nodding their heads to some beats, and that they had the kind of mini restaurants inside the school where you could eat whatever you wanted. KJ tells Link that so many people wanted to hang out with him, though he thought it must be so they could feel cool about hanging out with the only white kid in the school. He also says that throughout the day, there were no fights whatsoever. Link takes Jordan to KJ's room. Jordan watches the artwork hung all over the room. He asks Link how he felt splitting up with his wife affected KJ. Link sighs, then says that it is quite hard to tell, but he is sure it did. He says Tiana, KJ's mom, was a great mother. Just that when he got back from service, things changed. He goes on to talk about how difficult it is for those coming back from military service, how they can't find employment, face financial hardships, and struggle to get help from the Virginia. Link says all that stuff can really hurt your pride. He says all these problems took a toll on his marriage. Jordan asks him where he served, and Link responds that he did 2 tours in Iraq. Jordan asks him what he did in the army, and Link responds that he was an infantry rifleman. Jordan gasps and asks him what that was like. Link smiles sadly and says it was war. Jordan, on seeing a picture of Malcolm, asks Link if his son was into Malcolm. Link replies that he was definitely into Malcolm and points out that his son asked a lot of questions. The TV is chattering indistinctly in the background, as some people are busy writing on cardboard sheets. They are writing about justice for KJ. Jordan is in the room, sitting closely with a man who is drinking beer. Jordan asks the man how he and Link are related. The man simply responds that they are blood brothers, though not biological brothers. Jordan asks him how he met Lincoln. The man says they met overseas, same squad, same fire team. The man asks Jordan how old he was. Jordan responds that he was 21. The man replies that when he was a little bit younger than Jordan, he joined the Marines. Jordan asks him if he and Lincoln served in the Middle East together. The man replies that they did. Jordan asks him to elaborate, but the man refuses. Jordan says it was kind of crazy how soldiers who had fought in the Middle East found it hard to talk about their experience. The man responds, "You have to live it to understand why." Jordan sees a hospital band on the man and asks him if he had been to the hospital. The man says yes, that it was chemo, that the last treatment was in the morning. Jordan congratulates him. The man tells him that he didn't say he beat it. He clarifies it was the last treatment, the first and the last. The man adds that he looked like shit, felt like shit, and that he wasn't doing that again. He figured he would just go down fighting. Jordan tells him he's sorry. The man responds, "It is what it is," and shows him the tattoo of the words on his arm. Link comes in and says it's time to go. Jordan asks him to give a background of what is happening into the camera that had been recording for a while. Link agrees and turns to the camera, saying they're headed to the courthouse for the grand jury decision. He says they are optimistic and hope it goes their way. Link, his wife, and his supporters stand in front of the court, shouting and protesting that they want justice. The grand jury finds the officer responsible for KJ's death not guilty. All charges are dropped. The police say the officer will be returning to service. Link is devastated and sobs in the bathroom. His friend, the one who had cancer, comes in to comfort him, but Link throws up. Due to the jury's decision, people begin to protest and destroy property. The police meet Link's ex-wife and KJ's mother. The chief of police wants her to make a statement to calm the community, which had become violent. KJ's cousin, who is there with Tiana, becomes angry. He tells the officer to get out and shouts about how his cousin was shot and nobody was saying anything. Link eventually speaks on television. Link and the rest are watching her speech on TV. Link's brother tells Jordan that this is how it goes. A cop kills one of their babies and people want answers. People are mad as hell, they want to tear things up. The first thing the cops do is to put the mom on TV, because they know if the child's mother isn't ready to see shit burnt down, then why should anyone else? He says it's diabolical. Link says they kill his son, then they go right back to work. He points out that he can't do shit about it. His brother tells him that it ain't for nothing. Link begins to cry quietly, while Jordan stares on. Link is driving with Jordan and his crew in the passenger seats. Jordan asks where they are headed. Link says the courthouse. He points out that Tiana had filed a petition to get the chief of police dismissed. Jordan comments that sometimes petitions work if enough people sign them. Link stops the car in front of a house. Jordan asks where they are. Link says they are at a friend's house, that he had to pick something up. He asks Jordan if he has his license with him. Jordan responds that he does. Link tells him to move over to the driver's seat as he isn't feeling well, he'd like to stay in the passenger's seat after he returns. Jordan agrees. Link runs into the house, only to come out again with the chief of police as a hostage. He tells Jordan to drive off quickly. Jordan and his crew are shocked to see Link and some men arming themselves with heavy weaponry, including rifles, machine guns, and bulletproof vests. The only girl in the team tries to call 911, but her phone is snatched by Link, who demands to know what she was doing. He asks them if they wanted to make a documentary, saying that now they were going to make one. He tells them to listen carefully because he's only going to say it once, they should not stop filming. He then gives them bulletproof vests to wear. The team moves out. Using the police captain as their hostage, they successfully capture the police station. They bind all the officers, forcing them to face the walls. Link goes into the room where the officer who shot his son is being held. He sits down and stares at the officer for a while before asking if the officer remembers him. The officer says, "No, I didn't mean to shoot your son." Link tells him that he knew his son was unarmed. He tells the officer that he pointed his gun at his son and pulled the trigger. The officer says, "No, I didn't mean to kill him." Link takes out a gun and drops it on the table. Alarmed by his actions, Jordan calls out to Link. Link asks the officer if he's scared, if he's thinking about his family, thinking about how he doesn't want to die, about how he's too young. Link swears at the officer and tells him to answer him. Jordan tells Link that his actions won't fix things and will only make things more difficult for everyone. Omar, Link's blood brother, enters and tells him that the phone is ringing like crazy, suggesting that maybe they're trying to get him online. Link goes and picks up the call, mumbling that he's in charge. He says that what he wants is his son, then smashes the phone angrily over and over again. Link receives a call from his ex-wife. She asks him where he is. He responds that he's at City Hall. She asks if he's hurt, if anyone is hurt. Link says that he's fine, that everybody is fine. She tells him that his actions are all over social media and the news, and though they haven't mentioned his name, it's only a matter of time. She urges him to give up now. Link says he's not giving up. She tells him that he's all she has that connects her to KJ. Link says that someone has to pay for what they did to him. She says they have to do it peacefully, which makes Link angry. He asks why they have to do it peacefully and demands to know why black people are the only ones in the country expected to handle things without violence. He says that when white people are crossed, they kill people, they don't march, they don't ask for permission, they react with force. Tiana begins to cry and begs him to come back to her alive, to promise her that he'll come back alive. Link decides to hold a hearing. He releases some prisoners to act as members of the jury and also selects some other civilians at the station. Link puts the officer who killed his son on trial, telling him that this would be his jury. He tells him to look at them, saying they will decide his fate. He points out that they will listen to his story and the stories of others involved in the shooting, then they will deliberate. Link tells him that if for some reason they find a shadow of doubt, the officer will walk out a free man, and Link will turn himself in. Link begins the trial, instructing the officer to repeat the events of the day his son was shot. The officer uses the word deceased for his son, but Link forces him to say his name, Kajani Jefferson. The officer recounts all that happened, up to the point where he pulled his gun on Kajani. He claims that as an officer, he didn't know what the passengers had under their seats. Link asks him whether he doesn't remember him repeatedly saying that he was going to reach past his 14-year-old son. The officer affirms that he does but insists that a 14-year-old could still be reaching for a gun. Link points out that it wasn't a gun, was it? The officer admits that it was not, it was a phone. Link asks him if he put his gun away. The officer says he did not, explaining that they are trained not to de-escalate, that once a gun is drawn, it's drawn. He says it's for safety. Link asks, for whose safety? After the trial, the jury finds the officer guilty. Link tells him to call his family, and after he is done speaking to them, Link points a gun at his head and fires. The gun is empty. Link tells the officer he just wanted him to feel how he had felt for the past year. He frees the hostages. Jordan asks him what the point of everything was, and Link says he just wanted the whole world to see. Link is shot as he leaves the station. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.